a scope of work and a cost analysis as a proposal into establishing an official missing and murdered Indigenous persons unit, MMIP unit. The proposal is pending funding, and in the meantime, the Navajo Nation has been extended $500,000 to go towards NDCI investigations or initiatives. Let me at this point in time give it to Director Mike Henderson for any additional verbal testimony. Go ahead, Director.
Director Henderson, we can't hear you.
Let me go on to the next item. We'll give him a call here pretty shortly and have him get on the line now. Okay, the next item is item 4. By the end of the second quarter, FY 2022, the DPS director shall comply with LOCD-20-18 by establishing within the Navajo Department of Criminal Investigations a funded employee position for a licensed medical examiner. Update written report. It says that in a need for the Navajo Nation to establish a Department of Medical Examiners, DME, NDCI joined forces with the Navajo Department of Health, NDOH, in securing grant funds through the Tribal Opioid Response, TOR grant. This supplemental award gave way to creating DME positions with the Navajo Department of Personnel Management, DPM. The created positions include a medical examiner, a chief medical investigator, a medical investigator, and administrative service officer, ASO, and a statistician and demographer. These positions are still advertised as open until filled status. NDCI attempted another position salary increase negotiation for DME positions with DPM. However, the pay scale assessment is still pending. The DME positions are still temporarily funded by TOR grant under the NDOH. NDCI and the Law and Order Committee, LOC, are continuing to seek permanent funding for DME. Okay, going on to the next item, which is item number 5, COA item number 5. It says that by the end of the second quarter, FY 2022, the DPS director shall prepare a comprehensive plan to attract and recruit students attending high schools within the Navajo Nation into police officer training program. Update written report. It says the Navajo Police Department is in the process of reinstituting its age requirement from age 21 to 18 years of age. As the department continues to encounter young Navajos developing criminal history between the ages of 18 and 21 years old. Didn't sound right. With this, the department has revised its position classification questionnaire for all police recruit officer positions and is currently awaiting the Navajo Department of Personnel Management for approval. Let me at this time give it to Chief New.
Thank you, Director. Just a quick note, Director Henderson said he was having difficulty trying to unmute his phone, so he is online. So this one is it's an interesting and exciting initiative that we're looking at. We're just waiting for DPM to change the classification. We've already started inviting 18-year-olds to come to our recruitment, to all of our recruiting initiatives, and we're hopeful that gets approved soon. I think it'll make a big impact on our recruiting efforts. And one of the other things that I want to add that we're also trying to work out is through Commander Donnie at the Academy and the relationship he's built with NTU. We're looking at the possibility of creating a dual credit program with high schools and getting high school students on the path to a career in criminal justice and hopefully, PD and investigations and other positions like that. So this will be a work in progress that we will add to the report. We're very thankful to Dr. Bowman, Dr. Guy out there, NTU. They've been great partners with us and helping us to try to, attract high school and get them get them in our processes sooner. And I think what we were noticing was when potential applicants graduate high school, some of them, they're not college material, so they don't go to school. They try to look for a job, and in that idle time, they'll make mistakes, which potentially ruins their suitability, when it comes to them joining the police department. So we're trying to capture them, before something like that happens. We have a lot of plans. We're hoping that the turnout is, we have a large turnout so that we have a big academy next year in January. And we have a lot of plans with those young officers. And one of them is, posting more of those young officers in schools to help with safety, as we all know, that's a big area of concern right now across the country. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to item 6. It says by the end of the second quarter FY 2022, the DPS director shall prepare a plan for all Navajo Nation police officers, rangers, forestry officers, and fish and wildlife officers to be formally certified by the Navajo Nation after successfully completing the police officer standard training program. Update written report. The Navajo Police Department has been actively working with the Navajo Division of Natural Resources in collaboration with the Navajo Department of Justice to develop a mutual aid agreement to certify Division of Natural Resource law enforcement officers under the Navajo Peace Officer Standards and Training, Navajo Peace Officer Certification Requirements. The department is currently awaiting a final draft of the agreement from Navajo Nation DOJ. Let me at this time give it to Chief Noon again. Chief.
Good morning. So this is the initial MOU that we created was deemed insufficient. And what I can tell you now is I know that DNR attorney Robert Allen had created another draft and submitted that to DOJ. However, we haven't heard anything back, and that's what we're waiting on to move forward on this initiative. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Chief. Madam Chair and the Law and Order Committee, moving on to the last item, which is COA number 7. It reads, provide to the Navajo Nation Council a copy of all current PL, Public Law 93-638 law enforcement, criminal investigation and detention contracts, and annual funding agreements and scope of work. The written response and update says completed. December 28, 2021, a memo via email to Speaker Seth Damon for the Navajo Nation of the Navajo Nation Council, which included PL 93-638 BIA contracts coming from the law enforcement program, patrol services, from criminal investigations, from adult detention services, and also juvenile detention services. Let me see if Director Henderson is online right now. Director Henderson? Can you hear us, sir?
Good.
Director Henderson?
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me now?
What we
Good
did,
morning.
sir,
Director Henderson.
Sir, did you hear my written updates on the two items that was assigned to, that was specific to CI? Director Henderson?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I apologize. I'm having some issues with my phone here, but yes, sir, I did. I heard your report on both the missing persons and also the medical examiners.
You have any additional things to say about both items? Going with the first one first? The missing persons unit? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Director Delmore, and Madam Chair, Vice Chair, LOC members, committee members, and other delegates that are on the phone listening in, and the general public. The only thing that I can add to the condition number 3, the missing persons, is that we did prepare a proposal for a complete separate missing persons unit and initiative towards that. And however, the funds for it are still pending. We don't have any monies to jumpstart the unit itself, and we're looking at just to establish the unit over $4 million just to establish the unit. And then a recurring cost of over $2 million thereafter, year after year, in order for us to make this happen, the missing and murdered Indigenous people unit, to establish one of those units. In the meantime, we did get a $500,000 funds towards the missing persons initiative investigations from for our department in the coming year, FY23. And that is just a one-time fund. So to put it towards establishing an investigator or appoint an investigator to do missing person cases, because it's a one-time fund, it will not support a recurring initiative year after year. It can only do 1 year if that's how we're going to use it. However, to put it towards better training for our investigators across the board, it would benefit us in that way, having more training regarding missing persons investigations and abductions investigations, and even human trafficking investigations. To go towards, to put the fundings towards more training, and also to put the fundings towards all the recovery, the recovery of the remains that we do, to put towards that. And then for the medical examiners department, the initiative there, we have had, we have funded, we put some fundings into those positions that were created under the medical examiners department, to include the medical examiner itself, that position itself. However, they have been advertised. The job vacancy announcements have been out there with through DPM, Department of Our Personnel Department. And however, we haven't been getting any applications for those positions. And the fundings came from the tribal opioid grant through the Department of Health. They have been assisting us with funding those positions for the past few years. However, The problem is that there are no applicants to hire into those positions. So currently, we have, since that grant funding through DOH, Department of Health, on the tribal opioid grant is coming to an end within the next few months, by next couple of months. And since it's not going to be renewable, we put in for a supplemental proposal with the general funds to see if we can at least put some monies into the medical examiner position, and also the ASO, the service officer's position, so that they can continue working on creating their plan of operations, their standard operating procedures, and all the performance criterias and the PCQs and so on that they can develop for the department. So at this point, that is where we're at, and I'll be listening in and standing by to answer any questions that might come up.
Thank you, sir. Madam Chair and the committee, legislative concern number 3. This is part of a proposed budget that the executive branch did put together. In there, as you said, Madam Chair, the committee is going to review this proposal on Wednesday. So certainly at that time, we'll show you the proposed amount of $500,000 for this initiative in the FY 2023 budget. The 4th item, as mentioned, was submitted. We thought this budget that we submitted for the medical examiner's office was pretty much realistic, and we did submit it as an unmet needs budget for FY 2023, ma'am. Madam Chair and the committee, this is what we have as far as the condition of appropriations. As mentioned before, as read into the record, the 7 items update information. Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Director Delmar, and for this report that you provided to us in writing. So with that, committee members, we had our first conditions of appropriations that was read into the record regarding Division of Public Safety. There were 7 items. They have addressed those 7 items by sending us a report in writing, and they shared that with us just now. Are there any questions or any comments to the conditions of appropriations regarding Division of Public Safety?
Madam Chair,
Delegate Eugene So, the floor is yours.
hey, in regards to the Navajo Nation Council, a few months or a month ago, I had met with directors and the speaker, and the deal the OLC was supposed to draft it in regards to during this hearing, budget hearing, where we can request for funding, funding to be on the ground to materialize at the grassroots level. What I mean is there are some laws or some languages within each of the government's plan of operation to revisit their plan of operation and to revise them and put it forth to the council so we can re-amend some languages in there that's really in the way of putting some money on the ground. But I'll just say late, I don't know. But this condition of appropriation, it kind of makes me feel it versing the department's plan of operation, how they work. Maybe it's up to the department to also revisit their plan of operations, so we don't have to have these conditions of appropriation. So when we forward the money, we tell them how to use it, but some areas maybe they can't use it that way because of some of the languages within the plan of operation. Especially, I think it feels that way with the missing women, Navajo women, because they don't have maybe a department in there or a program in there that would benefit. Because any condition of appropriation needs more funds. That's how I see it. If we're going forward anything more load on the police department, like what we're talking about now, we need more money to put on their budget, and that in those areas where we're requesting for a condition of appropriation. So sometimes I feel that this condition of appropriation, when we forward to the departments, sometimes we forward them without the money. And how can they do it if we don't have the money to do what we're asking them to do? All they have is enough just to run on, the government to run on. Sometimes I feel that way about it. And these condition of appropriation, yes, we might feel the power as a council delegate to say what we want to any as a division, but where's the money? That's how I. So it credit. Other than that, it's just like a comment right now. So we need dollars to do condition appropriation. If they have the money, they'll do what we're asking to do. Go forward, go another step forward with the cash that we give them. But with what they can do and put a condition of appropriation on it, saying to do more, it seems like it's kind of that don't sound right to me sometimes. Okay, that's just my understanding of the condition of appropriation. Yes, it might be good on some areas where I don't have to, request for more money. Like police department, they have a lot of police. Because we're working with the code of, the 638, and the data might be wrong. What we're requesting, maybe we're requesting for money that the data has been maybe 10 years, 20 years ago, and we're not. The population has grown since, and there's more crime now than before, and we can't tell the policemen to put maybe 10 or 20 officers in each chapter to try to do their work. It's really impossible as of now to do those kind of work. No, so that's how I see it. Thank you.
With that, committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time? Not hearing anything. Director Delmar, I do want to state that in terms of your report regarding the legislative concerns for number 4, I did read through it. And I think that it needs to be noted in under number 4 that we are also working with Indian Health Services and also the federal government to see if we can establish a 638 contract for this medical examiner's position. Even though Department of Health, their opioid, grant, we weren't able to use that because of COVID. I think that it should be noted again that we are still moving forward, trying to establish a 638 contract for this position. And that the numbers or the statistics have been sent in to the federal government regarding the numbers that have been reported by Indian Health Services, which was actually misconstrued, or actually I shouldn't say misconstrued. It wasn't the right numbers. So I think that would be an important thing to add in your report, Director Delmar.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So with that, committee members, I'm going to ask one more time, are there any other questions or comments at this time for Director Delmar, for Chief Noon, and then also for Director Henderson? Okay, not hearing anything. We do have a motion and a second that has been established.
This is Delegate James.
Oh, I'm sorry, Delegate Vince James, go ahead. The floor is yours. Delegate Vince James, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Dan Shanale, Ado members of LLC, Ado Dan Shadane, Ado Kodo Nikitna presenters, Division Director Delmar and Chief Noon, and then also Chiche, Mr. Henderson, Yad Ehiko. Ado Kodo condition of appropriation. Aje eya ben hilna now konzate nihil jish ako nihe akon en heist zohigi for public safety e kweki be hanaste ako di la hit au be o la toye has anje ako tsada o al huge onahi lago konzaten hilhor jishley ban case ako ado beniye Washington the do Bureau of Interior do benadil kit ako sele ako konzate e lato la de do had egita based on leniki ajibelche hodol ni do lato kondiyet ayat has na hodol niki la la do kwaiki had egita ado baha o zita ako o hayud in his long leniki ajibta os id do na yol taho tahodol jish yen kode do o non-date o non-date o hata haso non-date o ko do hat egita ado la occasions and do hala that chol hota bekedo that's ilzen ji la ko ako de adon den ha ko da za o hits alha o kaiselin ko. And the image of that is a bad remark of saying thank you to those families that had withdrew the land in that area. But as of today, it's still in the same condition. What are the plans? Are there even any actions that are going to take place in regards to that site? It all started from Toye, and I know that it was brought up a couple times that, you know, we're doing this for a police academy and so forth, but in the sense of where all of that started, that hasn't been cleaned up yet. So that would be my first question. And then I'll have some other follow-up questions. Thank you, Chanel, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Delegate James. So with that, committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time before I turn the floor back over to Director Delmar? Not hearing anything, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to Director Delmar. Director Delmar, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Around the Delegate James, didn't have about that Toye facility. The Kuidishi every time I'm on 264, I take a drive that way just to see how it is right now. But it looks like it's pretty much way beyond repair right now, unfortunately. of course, we're trying to determine, no. We're trying to make that determination. Perhaps maybe we should have a get together sometime soon to meet with the chapter and to see what the status is. Of course, Quev Bishnashtani is one of the commanders, Emmett Yazi. Ikodon Hestalto. Commander Yazi was at the time the commander of the Toye NDPS Academy at that time. So he has some knowledge as to the status of it. And I'll give some time to him to have him talk about what's happening. Go ahead, Commander.
Irate shnat ani do espas andan utleni do da is not ihe she emet yazi and she a ko toye facility bin I did kidigi o nisha anash nishinda when it eventually got shut down. It got shut down in 2013. At the time, the division director, Mr. Billison, he felt that it was beyond repair, so the whole facility, the entire facility got shut down. But before that actual shutdown happened, unfortunately, we had 2 kids that drowned in that sewer pond that were there at the time. And it happened during the winter time. So we went into litigation of who's the owner of that whole entire property was, and it went back and forth between the nation and the BIA. And I don't think it was ever settled as far as whose real property that entire campus was. But when we moved out, it got turned back over to the Toye Steamboat Chapter. And I forget the gentleman's name. His last name was Sampson, and he was the chapter president at the time. And he said he was going to turn that school facility, that gymnasium, into a senior citizen event center or a youth center, that he was planning to convert the buildings into some kind of recreation for either the elderly or for the youth. So that was the last knowledge I have as far as the training academy that was at Toye. So after it got shut down, we all went back to our different sections. I went back to patrol in Chinle. So that's the last I have knowledge about that facility.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Madam Chair, that's our response.
Thank you for that, Director Delmar. So with that, committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time?
This is Delegate James
Delegate
Sinelli.
The floor is yours.
Thank you for that response. Kodot, Officer Yazi, and then Division Director Delmore. Thank you for bringing that up. And I still have a question, is that why is it not part of any of your reports? When will it be part of your reports of your plan and strategic layout regarding Toye? Yes, it's been given as answers many times, but there's nothing in place to give it that eye watch for leaders to say, hey, we have an issue over here in Toye. And it's still not part of any documents of public safety. So to me, just verbally, just saying it is not addressing it. We really need to see some sort of plan on what are our steps to move forward to provide that service for that area. And I think it's very disrespectful to just get up and leave in that kind of condition when a lot of officers left from there with good intentions to provide service to the Navajo Nation. And to just say, hey, and just leave and walk away from that land that was used, that you guys used to recruit so many Navajo police officers. I just don't understand how you can just not have it anywhere in your plans or written. And so that's what I'm trying to look for and trying to get an answer. I know I've been lenient and nice about it verbally, but as of now, I figured that would be somewhere part of any plans or documents that would be provided on behalf of the strategic planning of Division of Public Safety, and it's still not there. And so my next question is in regards to the reports, Division of Public Safety progress with this task, both verbally and in writing. And we seem to have issues with the fire department, and it's really coming down to a nasty, ugly outcome of how we should move forward regarding funding the fire departments throughout the Navajo Nation. And I continue to try my best to advocate on behalf of all the fire departments throughout the Navajo Nation. And in that aspect, I mean, again, when it comes down to the funding and the tax issue, again, where is the plan? That wasn't brought up again as well. How are we going to provide service and assistance to all the Navajo fire departments, to all the fire departments throughout the Navajo Nation? Because I say this in with all due respect that, you know, the firefighters, the workers there, they consider themselves as brothers and sisters. And yet by having this funding issue and separating our brothers and sisters that are considered as firefighters is inappropriate to be that stand of a role model, especially coming from our national capital, from Window Rock, Arizona. And so the question that I've always had is, yes, it says in the policy, but when are you going to make recommendation to your oversight to say, hey, we need to include all the fire departments throughout the Navajo Nation? And we continue to have issues with fire issues and EMS responding to emergency calls within the southwest region of the Navajo Nation. In this case, it would be from Greasewood into Indian Wells to Delicon, that whole region there, Loop. And those are some of the areas that I was really trying to listen out on where in your, again, in your condition of appropriation is that going to be written. But again, there's nothing in place. And so I really want to know your thought or what your plan is, and how do we also get that part of your conditions of appropriation or if it's in part of any other plans. That will be my question. Thank you, Chanel.
Thank you, Chanela. Delegate Vince James. Committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time? Not hearing anything, I'll go ahead and turn the floor back over to Director Delmar. Director Delmar, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, Delegate James, thank you for the questions that you raised. I documented 3 here that I'm going to be talking about as a response from me to your question, sir. The first one is you're talking about the reports of the Toye facility. The Commander Yazi that Closelia 2013 yata. Around it was apparently documented from that point on as to the status of the facility and all the recommendations that he mentioned. And perhaps it ended when the facility was given back to the chapter, as he said. So from that point on, there would be no longer any reports pertaining to that facility. Let me have him talk about it some more. Commander, go ahead. Reports, your kid.
I know before the shutdown happened, we did meet with the chapter officials in regards to that we are going to be closing and that also that we are going to be moving. So that's how I guess the closeout started happening with the chapter, the local officials having an understanding that that property and the facilities was going to be turned back over to them. So unfortunately, before any security got involved in that facility, you know, they started vandalizing and they started taking property off even the police academy facility. So, but once we left, it just kind of, we all, like I said, we all got reassigned back to different locations. So that's how the shutdown really happened. But in our quarterly reports during that time, we were reporting how the shutdown was going to happen and who was going to maintain those facilities. I'm sure those are in archive somewhere, and I can do a little bit of research on how that turnover happened and see if I can dig up those documents.
Thank you, Commander. Around the fire department, you had a question about the fire department. I just wanted to let you know that the last session the Law and Order Committee had with the fire department, I was there with Chief Chi at that time.
They know
When
where
we
your
were-
brain went. 2699.
When we were talking about the township of Kianta and their report that they made, the request that they made, a call at the end of the meeting, I did request for a plan from the chief again. He does have a plan. And we did say, and we talked to each other, I told him that every community within the Navajo Nation is the responsibility of the Navajo Nation government. Navajo Nation government meaning the Navajo Nation Fire. I realize the position of the township from Kianta, that they respond outside the township too. So areas like Chichimito, Danahozo, Oljeto, yeah, I'm mindful of those communities as the Navajo Nation jurisdiction to include the township itself. Not to that same day, Vice Chair called Sheila, Vice Chair So. Do you have any other alternatives? And I told him that we can talk with the fire department directly that is under the jurisdiction, particularly Kianta Fire. and talk with them directly. So I'm not sure if the chief did that. I'll get that information from him today. And perhaps maybe I could give you a call and give you an update as to what we are planning as far as the plan for the Navajo Nation. And you're correct. Every community within the Navajo Nation is the responsibility of the Navajo Nation. Out on the southwest area, response by fire and also response by EMS. I remember that when I used to be there in Delcon, the EMS services were coming out of Winslow, and it took a while for them to respond. But however, I understand that the new hospital there in Delcon, EMS has an office there, which would be very beneficial to the areas of Loop all the way to Greasewood, to Jedito, and the southern communities too as well. So that is coming soon here, sir. And also in talking with the EMS director, he's with us too here. I'll give him the floor to have him talk about it some more, about the EMS response to the Southwest communities. He is currently working on trying to put a staff in at the Ganado, at the former fire department area. Actually, Akweb Salabas Anich and Yikero. Akunashi, he's going to get settled in and put some EMS personnel in there. So that is my response currently, sir, to the three questions you have. Let me give it to Mr. Keskoli to provide some additional comments. Chris, go ahead.
Good morning, Law and Order Committee members, Mr. Delmar and everyone. Thank you. I just want to provide a brief update to Shanella, Honorable Vince James, regarding the Southwest region. Currently, right now, we are working the logistics to start the Ganado substation. We have a meeting this week with law enforcement to discuss the shared space within the Ganado Fire Department. We have spoken with the Ganado Fire Department on some of our efforts and the response areas for Ganado. Currently, it's an uncovered area for Navajo EMS. And then the Delcon healthcare facility, we were given a standalone facility. It's a 2-bay garage with quarters, office and quarter space. And we are the first entity or department that will be moving in coordination with the Winslow Indian Health. And we're due right now to move in early January. But that would also cover that, decrease our response to the Greasewood area, Delcon, Loop. Currently, right now, our operations are out of Winslow. So we'll be moving that Winslow office into the Delcon area, and then with the additional substation in Ganado that will cover pretty much the southwestern portion for EMS. Thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. That is my response to the three questions that the delegate raised, and Delegate James, I'm sorry. Madam Chair.
Thank you for that information, Director Delmar. So with that, committee members, I know that we still have a lot of questions regarding the 7 conditions of appropriations, and then also additional questions, but let's try to stick with the conditions of appropriations for the Department of our Division of Public Safety. All 7 have been sent to us, and all 7 have been responded via in writing in print, and that has been sent to us. Committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time?
Shanala, this is Delegate James.
Delegate Bench James, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dan. I just want to extend my appreciation and thank you to the response of my questions. I just been trying to look forward, and I was hoping that it would be part of the conditions of appropriation plan. So, but I got some answers, and hopefully it will be placed in black and white as we furthermore discuss about appropriation and budgets. Thank you. Thank you for the response. That's it.
Madam Chair, this is Vice Chair.
Thank you, Delegate James. Vice Chair Ottoso, the floor is yours.
Yes, I got back on the line. I'm gonna get off real quick again, but I'm trying to stay on just for form purposes. Number 6, the issue of by the end of second quarter, DPS director shall prepare a plan for the Navajo Nation police officers, rangers, forestry, and so forth, and be formally certified by the Navajo Nation, and after that, successfully completing the Navajo Officer Standard Training Program. So that's basically saying that they were gonna get our law enforcement officers all certified. But I think the issue with that number 6 is, I remember this on council, and Oyo Aro, I think I even voted for it. Oyo Aro so this the rangers from the forestry officers and the fish and wildlife officers, they are and I say they are law enforcement, but their oversight is with DNR. And I think that the thing that needs to happen to really have a lot of these controls, I know that the update portion is there pertaining to the Navajo Post, getting them certified and so forth, moving them, but is the progress is moving forward. But I think the issue pertaining to that, the rangers and the forest officers, the Navajo Nation Rangers, there's 2 types of rangers. There's rangers that are for the national parks or the Navajo Park Rangers. And then you have the Navajo Rangers that attend to the, I'm going to say livestock rangers. There's 2 separate animals there. Although you have the forestry officers again, forestry the although you have the fish and wildlife again officers, and each of these areas they're officers. And the issue of I believe there's one conversation happening at one point on the 23rd Council, but we never moved forth on it, was to collectively move all law enforcement under public safety, under the wing. And but I don't know how that merger could happen with continuing to allow DNR to have the oversight, because I'm sure their training is different than a Navajo police officer who goes through the training. The 2 types of rangers and the forestry officers and the fish and wildlife. Their training mechanism for their profession is different. Also you have the Historic Preservation Department. And well, that's probably the same thing under Fish and Wildlife. There's another agent that oversees I don't know about the like the petroglyph people that try to deface petroglyphs. Go and lead about the cultural aspect. That in the state you have that officer. Then you even have the Navajo Nation EPA officers, and so you have a realm of 6 public safety programs that's not under public safety. And with this, you know, if Navajo Division of Public Safety is not their oversight, you know, it's very hard for them to comply with these with this COA. And we just don't know where DNR is at on this. You know, we don't know where the department managers are at on this, where they stand, because I know that some the Historic Preservation Department, AJA, that's the 638 contract. I'm not too sure about the Navajo Nation EPA, where their EPA dollars come from. If it's federal dollars, you know, I'm sure the collaboration between Delmar's office and these divisions is probably all different. But it's probably hard to try to get them to you know, get them all Navajo posts, because they have their own requirements. And right now, the contract and the plan of operation shows that, well, the Navajo Nation Rangers, that the 2 types, they're under Department of Natural Resources with their division. And it goes with the Fish and Wildlife and things like that. And I think this would very hard to comply with. And but this is sort of outside. I'm beginning to see that this is outside the scope of Navajo PD right now, because PD does not have direct control over those 6 law enforcement programs. They answer to different individuals, even though they work for the nation. Their plan of operation is in place that allows them to operate in that way. If the Navajo Nation, if Department of Public Safety needs to be in part of it, we need to get those 6 programs in Division of Natural Resources to include Navajo Department of Public Safety in their plan of operation. Other than that, one is that's about the only thing that I see. I know that the Tohajale and the Sanders area is being addressed, but you know, I'm glad that they have the officers out there. Sanders and Tohajale they're working on, but you know, it's still under the wing of it, and a lot of it is you know, manpower of the police department. And as we continue to get more manpower out there, we really need to start looking at how we could try to start the dialogue to increase funding with the population increase of Navajo for this year's census. I know that the census, or the 2020 census, I know that Congress appropriates money based off of the census and we have to start that dialogue somewhere so we can try to increase those officers. I was just talking to a police officer last night in Tuba City, and we're talking about manpower and so forth. But you know, a lot of the issue comes down to, you know, individuals not and we all know this, committee members, that they already have an assault and battery on them, or some sort of domestic violence charge on them, or some sort of DUI that's already there, and it just pushes them away. You know, they're not qualified. You know, if we want to loosen the strings, we need to loosen the law on that. Allow, you know, maybe DV, domestic violence individuals to become people who had domestic violence on their record to become police officers when they, you know, in the future. Because definitely no one is, the people are applying, but people are applying at a low record. Then I understand that there's a police officer that may be leaving soon. We trained them and everything, and they will be leaving down to the valley, where you know, it's probably following the money. You know, that's good for them. You know, I'm not saying that's wrong, but somewhere we have to start looking at how can we really retain our police officers, because once we train them and they decide to leave, and it puts us back into that limbo of trying to fill that position again and try to find a qualified person. And that person that is the officer that may be leaving, he or she may, you know, got the training here. And we're just going to continue to try to fill those positions. So, but I appreciate the dialogue with Nahat Ajli. Since I serve as the chairman for the Navajo Hopi Land Commission, you know, I'm glad that we have the officer there for 8 hours, and it's better than nothing. The other is that as we move forward, there's buildings there, Mr. Elmore. I know an MOU was created with the with Office of Navajo Hopi Indian Relocation Program, and I think we need to move forward to ask the program to go ahead and maybe turn over that building over to Navajo Nation Public Safety. I know that the Untitled Chapter is trying to wants to be one of the first in line, but I think with with our programs, I think we will be able to take it over with public safety, and you know, and I think public safety can. It's a decent building. We can at least operate out of there for the overall region in that area, because there's not actually, it's just not there. You have Hawk, you have Lupton, you have White Ruins, and as far into Kagato, that they could provide service to for any sort of response, and into that surrounding area. And I believe that's about a 35 mile radius in a circle, even all the way up into Manuelito. No, because I don't think that I think that any sort of response from Sanders or from Winter Rock is going to be about the same. Sanders will be closer than Winter Rock to Manuelito. But I think we need to start moving forward to try to acquire that building that is being where O'Neill allows us to utilize that building, and that's the. So Pertaining to the legislative concerns. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Vice Chair Otto. So with that, committee members, are there any other questions or comments regarding the conditions of appropriations for Division of Public Safety? Not hearing anything, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor back over to Division Director Delmar. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the Vice Chair, first of all, with regard to Navajo Post, it was pretty much like you're saying, there's more than one law enforcement agencies across the Navajo Nation. First of all, you have Arima Police Department. Once upon a time, there used to be a Navajo Community College Police. And then you had Navajo Nation Rangers. I remember when I went through the academy, Navajo Police Academy here, we had students from Dene College in uniform. And then we had officers from the Navajo Rangers Department. And of course, the Navajo police officers pretty much taking the course of the Arizona Post and their curriculum. Recently, Navajo Nation Department of Justice, they came out with an opinion. And they based their opinion on an existing law that was apparently developed back in the 1950s. And they pretty much quoted the law and said that the Rangers and all other Rangers in particular at the time was the opinion based on. And it does say that the Navajo Rangers officers are park rangers. And the enforcement of Title 17 came into question at the time. And it does say that when they're enforcing Title 17, they need to be accompanied by a Navajo police officer. They came up with this opinion. So it's been the practice for quite some time, for so long in the past, where the authority of commissioning Navajo officers in general was under the Division of Public Safety Director. He was authorized to assign commission cards. Because of that opinion that came out. So what Navajo Post does is it at least addresses that. Navajo Post consists of a board similar to the state of New Mexico, similar to the state of Arizona, and perhaps New Utah. And the board's main responsibility is oversight of training of these law enforcement officers. If you look at the Navajo Post, it provides for full authority, limited authority, and so on, depending on what the task is. So, and right now, as the chief stated just a while ago, is that someone had requested an agreement between us and the Navajo Division of Natural Resources. Agreement, and it's my understanding that it's still being reviewed and hasn't been approved yet. So by our attorneys, so once it's approved, we were ready to go to start signing commission cards about a year ago. But these officers, Navajo Nation officers, Rayma, like I said, the college from Crown Point, NTU is interested in doing the same. And Dene College, there's 3 departments under the Navajo Nation Division of Natural Resources. And then there's one under EPA. EPA is up with Lahalonde, I'm not sure if they have any currently right now, but AEC Beniyat to pretty much standardize the training standards of these Navajo Nation law enforcement officers. So, one point that you bring out, Vice Chair, is it's sort of turned the light bulb on in my brain for me is the population that you mentioned just a while ago as justification in increasing our manpower. That is a huge factor. I thought I heard from the president that the census count lately was over 400,000, I think around about 405 to 6,000 in that area. So that is something that we could use in going forward too as well. Then in addition to that, we have a lot of visitors and a lot of people traveling through the Navajo Nation every day and night. So they need to I don't manpower although we struggle with it, we were doing our best. It's good to see the chief's effort, chief of police, in trying to spread his people to include other Navajo Nation communities, like in the area of southern Utah, and some of the areas like the Chi'i Delcon district, the Loop area, the Kwikwashi Yiji, that he's trying to address. And yeah, we do have a presence, like he said, at Nahatatsi. And sure, you're correct that they respond not only to the local community there, but they respond into other areas too that are in close proximity from that side. All intended to improve response time from us. Let me give some time to Chief New to add some additional comments too as well. Chief.
Thank you, Director. So as far as the Navajo Post situation, it's actually a pretty simple process on our part. You know, the rangers and DNR law enforcement, they submit their training applicants. The training is reviewed, and if they meet our standards, then we are good to issue them commission cards or certifications. Like I said, the tie-up is just in the language of the MOU, I guess, because there's an issue with enforcing Title 17. And so we're just hoping to get a response on that soon so that we can move forward on it. Regarding the different areas that we're focusing on, Newlands and other areas, Vice Chair is absolutely right. You know, we did lose an officer from the Shiprock District to the San Juan County, New Mexico Sheriff's Department. And that's what I highlighted when I first talked about, you know, the need to move to this minimum age of 18 hiring, because other departments are issuing hire on bonuses, you know, and we are moving toward a position that we can finally offer something like that with the addition of Deputy Chief Leonard Redhorse here at headquarters with our helping with our budgets and identifying those funds. We'll be in a position to start being competitive in that regard. But just all around us, I'll just give you some quick numbers. You know, the Farmington Police Department got a 15% pay raise. The agencies around there, the other agencies got a 12% pay raise. New Mexico State Police got an 18% pay raise. Utah Highway Patrol gave their officers a 19% pay raise. And down in the valley, a brand new police recruit starts out making $68,000 a year. And with Arizona DPS, my understanding is that 5 years, their officers are making up to $99,000 a year. So it's going to get interesting as all these raises start happening around us, because we did start, as far as I'm concerned right now, we are competitive at the entry level. We're focusing on perhaps some longevity bonuses for our 5 years and up, our officers in that area, because of, the fear of compaction. I think it's already here where new officers are making pennies less than officers who've been here, for 3 to 5 years. And so that's an area we're hoping to address, because it's a reality now. There's other officers that can make more money going other places right after we've spent all of our time and efforts to train them. So I appreciate Vice Chair bringing up that as a point. I think it's something that we can't ignore, and hopefully there's something beyond what we're already trying, something else that we can do to keep our officers here. So thank you, Director.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you very much. Vice Chair, that is our response to the questions that you raised with us. Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you for that, Director Delmar. Director Delmar, when we met with Bureau of Indian Affairs Office of Justice Services, you were present during that meeting when we brought this issue up. At that time, BIA OJS did give the Navajo Nation permission to use any funds that have not been used yet to address the bonuses and then also salary increase. And I know that speaking to Deputy Chief Redhorse, I believe that was his title. I think last time I called him Captain, and I had to apologize because I was told that he had a different title. But I did talk to him, and he said that they did receive the letter from BIA OJS, because I know that that was something that had been requested. So is that what Red Horse is working on at this point, is to start increasing the salary, and then also providing for the longevity bonuses, and then also the sign-on bonuses? Is that what you're talking about? I just need some clarification before I turn the floor back over to Vice Chair.
Yes, Madam Chair. Myself and the Chief, we did meet with the Navajo Nation Office of OMB is who we met with about a month ago with the director who represents us with regard to 630 contracts. And he did tell us that it is, in his thoughts, he said that it was pretty much permissible to use the unexpended monies that we have from our contract monies. However, he sort of deferred our question to him to our human resources folks, and he did direct us to work with our HR people in getting this done. So that is where we're at currently. Let me give some time to the Chief too, and sort of give you an update on that item. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Director. First thing I want to do is I want to acknowledge you, Madam Chair, for your efforts, and I really appreciate the fact that you took this with you to the OJS Director with Mr. Delmar and presented this to them, which got this ball rolling. So since your visit, there's been a change in leadership up there. The new OJS Director is a friend of the Navajo Nation, and we're excited that he is in position now. So yes, we did get that letter. That is what Deputy Chief Redhorse is working on. But this really is going to focus on the bonuses, not the actual pay increases or stuff like that. We're going to use this to try to address the lateral hire on bonus and longevity bonuses to keep officers here and to increase our manpower, our staffing levels. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Madam Chair, that is our response.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And I really think that before before the 24th Navajo Nation Council leaves office and the 25th Navajo Nation Council comes in, I really think that we need to sit down with BIA OJS, Director Delmar, as well as Chief Noon and also Director Henderson, because the last time we went to Washington, D.C., we did have Chief Francisco with us, and then Acting Chief Director, Dale West. I am aware of their change in leadership. I have not made contact with the new BIA OJS director. However, we do have an upcoming Tribal Interior Budget Council meeting that's scheduled in August. So we're hoping that we'll be able to meet before then to set the agenda for TIBIC. But in that same regard, I think it's very important, Director Delmar, that we do take Chief Noon and also Director Henderson to Washington, D.C. to meet with the BIA OJS so that they have some I guess, understanding of what it means when we say that we're going to DC to advocate for public safety funds. And I think it's just very important to have that relationship established ahead of time, and just knowing, who is in place at this, at this time, because I think there's a lot of things moving with BIA OJS. In addition to that, we are also, I have already started, just so you guys know, I've already started requesting funds to remove the old facilities that BIA built. So the Window Rock Police Department, as well as the Sherbrooke Police Department, as soon as we start working towards getting funding, and Director Delmar, you know that we are working towards that right now with the Public Safety and Justice Bond. And then we also have the 105 Al lease meeting in Phoenix this Thursday. So just a lot of moving parts at this time, but certainly I think we do need to make our way there to DC one more time to talk about all of these different things that are happening, specifically what Navajo is doing to secure funding for the facilities, get some update on the 105 Al lease, talk about the facilities that need to be abated, and also demolished. And then, any extra funding. Director Delmar, I am aware that corrections, I believe their 638 contract is currently going through the negotiation process now. So I think we need to schedule a leadership meeting to talk about that, to increase funding. I know that Director Gray Eyes has come before this committee and has requested an increase in funding, especially for the adult detention. So we need to make sure that we are at that table when it comes to negotiating. So we do need to meet sooner rather than later to talk about the 638 contract and also the negotiation time, which is right now. It is kind of not a very good time. I guess it's not an opportune time, because we also are going to be going through budget at the same time. But we do need to set that meeting up so that we can start the negotiation with the adult detention. So with that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to just jump in there, but I just wanted to throw that out there to let you guys know that we do need to sit down with BIA OJS. And I know that right now the executive branch, I'm not sure if you guys still have that travel restriction that's currently in place, but I think it's really important that we try to get out there ahead of time to set the tone with BIA OJS in terms of what Navajo Nation needs, this next coming budget session. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and ask Vice Chair Otto. So did you have any more questions, or any of the committee members? Are there any other questions at this time?
Madam Chair?
Vice Chair, the floor is yours.
The other thing too is that, as the 638 contract for the Department of Correction is being in form of a negotiation. I think the general language for the contract is very, very, very important, but with the population or the census data, I'm a population person, whether I'm in Washington or back here on the Navajo Nation. I always say that, you know, that we have we're the largest tribe, and I continue to hold those things in my cards when I come back to the nation, because I still stand by that. And but get leadership that plants on in Washington said, "Oh, we're the largest tribe," but when they get back, the largest tribe population goes out the door, and they say, "Oh, we have a little bit of people over here. We have more needs." But that population issue, that card, we really need to play that to try to allow as a justification for the increase of public safety. And I think this is what it is, because public safety is across the board. On Navajo, whether it's into the city or in Blue Gap. But what I'm getting to is that this is the overall thing that we should all be unison on. And the issue is that we really have to get the administration to also print on that population ratio, because whatever's in the contract, the increases can be granted utilizing the census data. I don't know how the Navajo Nation census data is now, but whether we lost some or we got some more people counted, the issue is, how can we use that to our advantage? Because if the and the main thing is it actually being how can I say advocated by the administration. Because when you look at this ARPA, yeah, we appropriated these dollars, but when you look at ARPA, a lot of the dollars went into not the populated area. But it was a win-win situation, and we had to come to the middle and win some and lose some. But what I'm getting to is that, this tells me what the administration so this tells me that the highly populated area is really not a concern, and as we move forth on our 638 contract, we need to make sure that we do stand on our population to increase, to help with our request, and continue to get Congress to understand, and OJS, since we have a friend that's there, how can we penetrate that office, try to include those. So those are some of my thoughts of it. And I'll be really getting off in a bit, Madam Chair. I just got a text from the water rights attorneys. So they deal with that. Yeah, I'm going mute.
Thank you for that, Vice Chair Otto. So with that, committee members, are there any other questions or comments for Division of Public Safety regarding the conditions of appropriations?
That's it.
Eugene So, the floor is yours.
Share that he conscious Oh, she's hostile. The lead now. She's the leadership that Aliyah seen yonder on the Sata. Adult Asail, and very quick conduction by the Holy Even not a Holy sometimes. Sometimes I feel that I heard it before last year or 2 years ago. We're still talking about it. Sometimes I feel that way. We don't really sit down and grab and do what we can do with it. The data is wrong regards to the 638. Sign in daily. That's what I was talking about. What the auto said, should not let but I'll go about it in front on the there is a lot. You see, don't just have not they have this in the ship because there are a lot of things that's not happening. It is almost daily now, but somehow we need to help the police department. That's where the problem is, the money wise. And then another thing that I always been stressing ever since when I got into the chambers, before they took over my authority as just being a member, is that parenting. If we can parent, we can put some money into it. Somewhere we can parent our young kids. That's easy now in that case. And these are emotional, spiritual, physical growth, all in harmony. That's the roots. That's where it is. We will forever fight crime if we don't change the roots down there. This is what on this stuff. We're just going to forever race. We need more police department, more policemen, more this and that to enforcement. Instead, we don't really go to the problem where you see it at there. We don't really go to that place. Even the United States, even the world is like that. These days, don't see as a lean at a very certain age, they're on their own. We are saying Adam, no great I have not say. Another start at this star or visited at this star has three Hosan, uncles and aunts, or brothers. You never say this is my own business. You don't got no business in my life, or the known the whole art. There's more devices in our government in this American history. Beyond that, there's a failure of government. Division, all these are lean. There are states going against each other, blue state and the red states. Then there are skin colors going against each other, white and blacks, etc. All these things, now they're out there, but we really don't know what our president is doing about those kind of stuff. So we're in their ear now, where our kids are becoming our enemies. So because we don't parent no more. I don't know when we're going to even think about that's where the problem is. But then also nobody's looking at it. They ask me something alone and she don't need that instance. But to me, that's where I see it. It's because I've been on this case. So I'm not a good parent. Number one, it is not even though I raised my own kids when they were diapers into the high school, single parent. But in this case, I feel real bad about this kind of stuff because we're going to forever fight crime. It's going to be there all the time. And if we just get money at it, throw money at it, we're going to still, the system grow and grow, and we throw money where we're going to get the money. instead of go back to the roots and try to change the roots. I'm not talking tomorrow, maybe 10 years, maybe 50 years. We might have a better government, better people. Not the compulsory way of life. That's supposed to be our goal. They all are. It's a sin. It's a hot to be in the positive way of life. Even now, with all plans to the case, but we got to need it. But if you didn't need it, and the way that it has net, and if you didn't need it. But these are all negative stuff that we see on TV, even on games, etc. Don't just call it not. Each at the stream. So that's how I see it. I'm sorry to say this, but this is just how I see it. It's 1, 2, 3, ABC to me, where the problem is. On that.
So with that, committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time? Not hearing anything. Director Delmar, I'm going to turn the floor back over to you at this time for response.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also want to say that I appreciate what you do, Madam Chair, and the committee too as well. I certainly agree with what you mentioned just a while ago about the strategy of meeting with the Bureau before our big meeting with the other tribes too as well. So that is a good thought. Thank you so much for mentioning the Department of Corrections too. They have issues big time with monies and limited funding too as well. So certainly we wanted to raise the effort for NDOC and some issues that they have. And perhaps maybe we should invite Dr. Gray Eyes to come with us to meet with BIA OJS in DC. That is great. Thank you for your efforts. I agree with what you had raised. I want to mention too, in addition to that, I want to see if we could do the same with Navajo Nation EMS too. They have some issues with salaries. I think they have the monetary support to do and boost their salaries too as well. So I've been talking with Mr. Kescoli about EMS and the current situation. Vice Chair, what you talked about as far as population is concerned, I just want to reiterate that. That is a good thought, and we could use that to our advantage. Eugene, so thank you for sharing your wisdom of life. What Ashi the need Ashi needen needen a nit and lay ho wanda chin ba hui liang do chin the nil zelo hashit ayat e na ito lisigi hot he ay bahal zahn halan he ani hot ay ni madon his jedo ni choda dat ene hot ani ni dal tio hot ay dana iya to kunza e hashin so e bedani nasto a koi he o yo yat ele hot haja atzeo do anigo e den to ba hensen do be khaya hot ele so hot haja atzeo. So that is my response, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Director Delmar. While we were talking, I was just looking over the U.S. Senate's tentative calendar for when they will be reconvening, and it looks like they'll be reconvening September 6th because they'll just be going to the state work period. So what we can do is, since we do have plenty of time, perhaps the week of September 19th, we have a Law and Order Committee meeting, but perhaps September 20th through the 23rd, we can go ahead and schedule some time in Washington, D.C. to talk about public safety and justice, you know, and then also to meet with BIA, Office of Justice Services, and see if we can, during that time, start advocating, which will, I think, give us some time, especially in terms of the 638 contract coming up. We do have budget session or budget hearing scheduled September 6th through the 9th. So if you guys, if committee members, I know that, you know, our calendars right now, you know, they do get filled pretty quickly, but if you could pencil in September 20th through the 23rd as a trip to DC, and this would be on behalf of public safety and justice. Director Delmar, I think that would give you enough time to submit your I guess your travel request, and to also start working with your directors to see, you know, who would be in attendance, because we're going to need that information ahead of time. I can also start working with Carlisle Begay to start scheduling meetings, and then I can also work with directly with the various senators and representatives to also start scheduling meetings during that week if you guys are available. And again, that I think that gives us plenty of time in terms of notice. If we're looking at September 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, we can start working to schedule that meeting there in Washington, D.C. Is that a good time for you, Director Delmar?
Yes, like you said, Madam Chair, we have some time to come together and sure, and make that trip too as well.
Okay, so committee members, let's go ahead and put that in our calendar. Lorraine, can you go ahead and record that? Of course, we're going to have to vote on that. I'm sure that it will be, you know, okay with Law and Order Committee and with Speaker's Office to schedule this trip there. And again, the reason would be to meet with the new Office of Justice Service Director, as well as to discuss the needs of public safety and justice. And then most importantly, to have a sit down in terms of the adult corrections, the budget shortfalls that adult corrections is currently facing. And so I think if we schedule it out as far out as in advance, I think we should be able to meet with the various senators and representatives, and then also meet with BIA, Office of Justice Services. In the meantime, Director Delmar, I am still putting together the public safety booklet. We just got finished updating the information from the Sex Offenders Registration Notification Act. So we got SORNA in there. We've got our information regarding the medical examiner's position. We will need to work together to create a letter so that we can put that new letter in the public safety and justice booklet, talking about what the needs are. So we may have to schedule a work session prior so that we can get that letter drafted and then ready for signature and included in the booklet. It takes about a good week for the booklet to be printed, but it should be prepared and ready by that time. That way we at least have something that we are taking with us to Washington, D.C. to share with the federal, you know, our federal representatives and senators there, but also with BIA, Office of Justice Services. So I think we have a date set in mind, so we can start working towards getting everything in that needs to be in this public safety and justice booklet, Director Delmar.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I
So with
agree.
that, thank you. So with that, committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time? Okay, not hearing anything. We do have a motion established by Delegate Vince James and by Vice Chair Otto So. The conditions of appropriations were read into the record. A response was provided to us. There are no questions or no comments by my colleagues. So we'll go ahead and proceed forward to accept the report. Sherelle, can you assist us with the roll call vote, please?
Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Otto So votes green via text. Honorable Edmund Yazi is excused. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Vote, okay, so.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazi excused. Madam Chair.
Sherelle, what is the purpose? I'm sorry, what is the reason for Delegate Edmund Yazi being excused?
Madam Chair, he did email all of us at 10:41 a.m. Stating to please excuse him, is what it says on the email. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Sherella. Yes, I did get that email, but there was no reason provided. So I'll go ahead and email him back. In the meantime, thank you for reading the vote. Again, committee members, we did get an email from Delegate Edmund Yazi at 10:41, and all it says is, please excuse me. No reason was provided for being excused for today's Law and Order Committee meeting. So with that, committee members, the report, thank you, Division Director Delmar, Chief Noon, Director Henderson, Mr. Cascoli. Thank you guys for being on the call and for answering the questions regarding your conditions of appropriations. And just as a reminder, we do have our budget session that will be starting on Wednesday, the 27th. Tomorrow, we do apologize. Technically, budget was supposed to start on the 26th. However, it had to complete the 5-day comment period. That's what we were waiting on. And so we do have budget hearings for our oversight on the 27th, the 28th, with an overflow on the 29th. Director Delmar, I believe that you guys are scheduled on the 27th. Committee members, just as a reminder, on the 28th, I will not be present during the budget hearing. I do have my 105L lease meeting that's scheduled in Phoenix. That meeting was scheduled several weeks in advance, actually maybe even a couple of months in advance, and I did commit to going to this meeting, so I will be in Phoenix on the 28th, and I will not be present during the budget hearing. However, Vice Chair and I did have a conversation, so he'll be chairing the budget session during that time. So with that, committee members, thank you again, Director Delmar, for providing us a report here today. We'll go ahead and go on to item number 5. B, review the conditions of appropriations for fiscal year 2022. Approve budgets for the judicial branch administration. Can I get a motion and a second at this time? Actually, yes, can I get a motion and a second to hear the report? Committee members, I do need a motion and a second to hear the report from the judicial branch regarding their conditions of appropriations for fiscal year 2022.
Ladies, finish the
Motion made by Honorable Eugene So. I do need a second.
Delegate James, second.
Delegate Vince James seconds that. So we'll go ahead and Lorraine, if you can go ahead. Well, do we have judicial branch on the line? I see Chief Justice Joanne Jane is on the line. Chief Justice, do you have your staff in place at this time?
Yeah, Day. Good afternoon, Madam Chair of the Law and Order Committee and also the Law and Order Committee. This is Joanne Jane, Chief Justice of the Judicial Branch and the Supreme Court of the Navajo Nation. Kapahin Snakenya Ani Bashishin, Twadajini Dashiche, Kapahin Dashanala Sto. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Madam Chair and members of the Law and Order Committee. Yes, there are staff that are online for any specific questions. I have Stephen Etsidi, who is the Director of the Administration of Courts. I also have Karen Francis, who's the legislative officer, the government relations officer. And then have Elaine Henderson, who is with the Peacemaking Program, and also Raquel Chi, who is with the Grants Administrator, who is also working within the Administration of Courts Department in regards to process servers. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Chief.
Okay, sorry.
So that, Lorraine, if you can go ahead and read the conditions of appropriations into the record for the judicial branch.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Law and Order Committee and those that are listening. So I will read the Exhibit H, page 2 of 6. Right in the middle, it says Judicial Branch. Judicial Branch Administration. 1, the Judicial Branch Chief shall take all appropriate measures to address the untimely nature of notices provided by peacemaking programs at all Navajo Nation judicial districts. Such measures shall include a review and evaluation of private process servers who are certified by the courts and regularly serve litigation participants, especially with regard to probate cases. The Judicial Branch Chief shall provide a report regarding these tasks, both verbally and in writing, to the Law and Order Committee by the end of the second quarter, FY 2022. Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you for that, Lorraine. So with that, Chief Justice, the conditions of appropriations for the judicial branch has been read into the record. I'm going to go ahead and, a motion in the second has already been established. I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to you at this time to address the conditions of appropriations. Chief Justice.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the Law and Order Committee, and also those who are listening on this meeting. That would be other individuals that are with the executive or the legislative branch, as well as the public, our Diné people, whoever is on the line at this time. So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present the information that has been requested. The Law and Order Committee is our oversight committee. A condition of appropriation was placed on the judicial branch on September 27th, 2021. And at that time, that was during the process of finalizing the fiscal year general funds 2022 budget. And so a condition of appropriation can be placed on a department or a program based on the request from the Budget and Finance Committee, which in this case that occurred, and it moved forward to the Navajo Nation Council, which approved that along with the budget in FY 22. It also was signed by the President on September 27th, 2021. The conditions of appropriation, and I won't repeat that. Thank you for having read that into the record, Ms. Spencer. The condition of appropriation required specific tasks and work that has to be done by a department within a time frame that the Navajo Nation Council would have placed upon a department or division or an individual to have that condition to be performed in a specific amount of time. And the Navajo Tribal Council requested that to the President. The President signed that, and that was to to have the judicial branch perform specific tasks within a certain period of time. And that time frame was for within the second term of the fiscal year 22. So that would have been at the end of March 31st, 2021. So the judicial branch, we got to work on that, and we submitted a written report to the Law and Order Committee. We did that, and also to the Budget and Finance Committee on February 13th, 2022. So we did that before the end of the required time for the judicial branch to file a report. The judicial branch, we gave a report in person, and meaning virtually, because there were no meetings in person at the time. So we certainly reported to the Law and Order Committee on February 14th, 2022. And then the next day, we also, because we were ready and we had prepared the report, we also went before the Budget and Finance Committee on February 15th, 2022. And so the judicial branch has certainly responded to the appropriations by virtue of fulfilling the requirements. And at this time, Madam Chair, the details of that report that we did on February 14th and February 15th, 2022 has been done. And however, we would also like to highlight that and reiterate what steps that we have done. Certainly at the time that we had our appropriation conditions placed on us, that was in September, and since that time there have been numerous measures that have been taken. Some of those measures certainly were reported February 14th and 15th, and because it is a fluid process, it is a fluid process, meaning that there are changes and there are improvements that need to be made, and we made adjustments, and we made different recommendations, set goals and objectives, even after the reporting time frame up through today. And so we would like to report on what the report was on February 14th and 15th, 2022, if that is the wish of the committee. And then also we can add more to that report. Again, tasks and work is always moving, it's fluid. So we, if it's a desire of the committee to have that report also, we do have information for that also. And it is our knowledge that the process of the reporting goes to our oversight committee, which is the Law and Order Committee at this time. And then there is a determination at some point as to whether or not the conditions of appropriation has been fulfilled. And so we are happy. We're glad to make a report to the committee and also to the Navajo, our constituents, our Navajo Diné people. And with that, Madam Chair, the judicial branch will follow the directive and directions that the Law and Order Committee would like to have reported today. Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the Law and Order Committee.
Thank you for that, Chief Justice. Chief Justice, is there a written document that you've submitted to the Law and Order Committee?
I will have to refer that to Stephen at City. I know that there was a report that had been presented already, and I would have to defer to him as to if we've added more information to have that report. There are various reports that have been submitted to the Law and Order Committee, which I didn't mention. And so I would like to refer to him to update the Law and Order Committee as to the various processes that we've been going through since September 27th, 2021, up to this date. So I will refer to him just so that I don't miss any reports. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Do we have, I'm sorry, Chief Justice, you cut out there. Did you say to Mr. Adsity?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know how much of what I said was deleted or it didn't come through. And I apologize for that.
It was just
So-
a part with the name. It kind of went down just a little bit on this. So yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes, Mr. Adsity. Thank you.
Okay, that's who I thought it was, but I just wanted to make sure. Mr. Stephen Adsity, are you on the line?
Yeah, hey, can you hear me? This is Stephen at City.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Although, Madam Chief Justice, Joanne Jane, members of the Law and Order Committee, and personnel of the Judicial Branch, and anyone that is also listening in on our Law and Order Committee meeting today. As Chief Justice Joanne Jane mentioned, we did submit a written report in February of 2022 in preparation for our first report to the LOC, which we held on February 14th. There was a directive that was issued by the committee in response to that report, and we had a 60-day window to reply to that directive. That directive was submitted in April, on I believe April 15th, to the committee. Those are the two written documents that have been submitted to the committee. There is no additional written report that we have in our that we transmitted in preparation for this discussion. We didn't get the agenda until the weekend, and we were, as Chief Justice Joanne Jane mentioned, we have been continuing to reflect back on a lot of the concerns that were raised through the condition of appropriation. We continue to work on the things that we submitted to the committee back in February and in April. And so, you know, we don't have a specific report to refer to in this discussion, but we do have updates that we can provide in terms of the condition of appropriation. So, Madam Chair, that's you know, my answer to your initial question about any new additional written report.
So just so I'm clear, Mr. Adsity, what you're saying is there's not an official report that has been submitted by your by the judicial branch regarding the conditions of appropriations that was read into the record.
It was submitted to you in February.
Lorraine, do you have, can you resend that to the Law and Order Committee members if you haven't already, Lorraine?
Yes, Madam Chair, I sent it.
Okay, is that the one that you sent at 12:50?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so with that committee members at 12:50, Lorraine did send us a copy of the report that has been referenced by Mr. Stephen Adsity regarding the conditions of appropriations. That condition of appropriations has been read into the record. Are there any questions or comments from committee members at this time? Not hearing anything, Chief Justice and Mr. Adsity, is there anything that you would like to add before we vote on the report that has been provided to us here by the Judicial Branch?
Madam Chair, this is Stephen at City, if I may.
Mr. Atsidi?
Thank you. The condition of appropriation focuses on two specific aspects of the work that we do in the judicial branch. The very first sentence highlights the issue of untimely notices provided by the peacemaking program. And in our response, we did explain how the peacemaking program is
Madam Chair,
organized,
point of order.
how it handles.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Issuance.
Stephen Atsidi, there's been a point of order called by Delegate Eugene So. Delegate Eugene So, what is your point of order?
My point of order is I think we already heard that back in the 3-4 months ago. They're going to the same thing. And we asked Lorraine if she can look back into for the first of March when it came to report this condition of appropriation. Thank you.
Delegate Eugene So, are you, I'm sorry, are you just stating that this has already been shared with us a few months ago? That's all you're stating, right?
That's what I'm stating. So they're going to continue, and I don't know what we should hear again, because if we already heard it, quit asking someone in this case what they're saying now. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Eugene So. So with that, Mr. Stephen Atsidi, can you tell me, is there anything new that you would like to report to us that has not already been reported to this committee regarding your conditions of appropriations?
Yes, I do have one significant update that does impact how we are addressing these issues that were highlighted by the condition of appropriation.
Okay, go ahead. The floor is yours.
In February, well, actually, when the fiscal year started, and then all the way through February, and of course the end of the second quarter, which was the deadline that we were given to respond to our condition of appropriation, the judicial branch was operating under a series of administrative orders which highlighted a priority for essential cases and essential work levels and service levels. Many of our, well, all of our districts were not in a position to provide in-person direct services to our public. And as a result, that was where a lot of concerns were being raised. My basic update is that in April of this year, we did move forward in a significant manner to address how we are operating. The Chief Justice issued Administrative Order 13-2022, which basically moved us out of essential services operation levels and provides the opportunity for all courts and programs, every aspect of the judicial branch to move towards full capacity, which is, taking into consideration the status of the pandemic, the continuation of how we manage for health risks to our staff, to our judges and justices, as well as the public and at our facilities. We are prepared now to receive the public, and the judges have all of the discretion to hear cases, to convene meetings regarding all court matters. And we do have a handful of judicial districts that are now in the position to begin to conduct in-person court and programmatic services. So a lot of the barriers or what we were considering at the time, we're organized and we are moving towards providing more in-person services to the public. And I know at the Window Rock Judicial District, we now have hours during the week where the public is coming into our office spaces and getting their services requests met by the Window Rock Judicial District. We have several other districts that have been approved to be in this level of operations. And we're looking forward to that basis providing a lot of relief for some of these concerns and for some of the processes that we were just conducting remotely, either through the telephone or through teleconference methods and limited video conference methods to pick up the speed on how we are working not only with our public, but also with our judicial partners, prosecutor's office, public defenders, Division of Social Services, public safety, and all of our programs inside the judicial branch, peacemaking and probation. In this regard, we're also starting to convene on a more regular basis the frequent resource meetings that are held at the local level that are often organized and facilitated by our judicial districts. So the interactions and the ability to work through court administration issues in each district is now expanding, and we're hoping that the activities through the rest of this fiscal year will continue to demonstrate not only to the public but to the oversight committee that the basis that we're now working on will be sufficient to address these concerns that were raised in August of 2021, and that we will continue to abide by all of our public health orders and manage for safety for everybody, but at the same time continue to work towards returning to full capacity in our courts and our programs. Madam Chair.
Thank you for providing us that update on reopening, Mr. City. So with that, committee members, are there any questions or comments at this time for the judicial branch? Not hearing anything, we'll go ahead and proceed forward to the vote to accept the report that has been provided to us here regarding the conditions of appropriations for the judicial branch. Sherelle, can you assist us with the roll call vote, please?
Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate Jane votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Otto So votes green via text. Honorable Edmund Yazzie. Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie is excused. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie excused, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Sherelle. So with that, we have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting. The report is hereby accepted by the judicial branch regarding their conditions of appropriations. And we do appreciate, Chief Justice, that the report was resent to us, and we do have that in our possession. So with that, we are going to go ahead and proceed forward. Chief Justice, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Law and Order Committee, and thank you for your continued support of the judicial branch of Kehat.
Thank you, Chief Justice. So with that, we'll move forward to item number 6, old business. There is none. Item 7, new business. There is none. Item 8, we are now at the close of the meeting. Are there any announcements at this time?
Madam Chair, that's it.
Delegate Eugene So, the floor is yours.
That's it. All members, another. I pray for you, another, if you're listening. Others also. We called it, in don't quit the way I would appreciate it, Nancy. You mentioned regards to the trip down to Washington, D.C. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, Delegate Eugene. So I am preparing an email right now to let Speaker Damon know. Right now, I asked the committee members if they could pencil it into their calendar for September 20th, 21, 22, and 23. At this point, I am requesting the ORT, the off-reservation travel. I am letting Speaker Damon know that once we vote on this at the next Law and Order Committee meeting, that an official ORT will be submitted on behalf of Law and Order Committee for this trip to Washington, D.C. Now, the purpose of this is to meet with the new Bureau of Indian Affairs Office of Justice Service Director, and then to talk about the renegotiation for the Department of Corrections, the Adult Services. We also need to meet with the Indian Affairs Committee that's made up of, I believe there is about six Democrats who are on that committee, and then 6 Republicans. And this is the Senate of Indian Affairs. Committee members, as you may recall, I was invited to take part on the roundtable discussion with the senators to talk about public safety and justice in Indian country. And so I did at that time let them know that when we do plan to go to DC the next time around, that we would meet with them so that we can give them the official Navajo Nation Public Safety and Judicial booklet that we also have to get approved through Navik. So I think that the September 20th date does give us a little bit of time to get everything organized and ready to go. So with that, Delegate Eugene, so I hope that answers your question. Again, that's going to be September 20th, 21, 22, and 23. Delegate,
Okay.
thank you. And I'll go ahead and CC your LDA on this, Delegate Eugene, so that way they are aware of it as well. So with that, committee members, are there any other announcements? Committee members, I just want to announce again that tomorrow we do have a special council session to complete the rest of the legislations. And for those who are listening in, I know that there are rumors out there that the entire council, is in quarantine. That's not true. There was a person who did test positive, who was in the chambers, but many of us were not in attendance at that time. But out of precaution, they did test all of the delegates. And at this point, it was reported this morning that no delegate has tested positive. I will repeat that no delegate has tested positive, as many of us were not in attendance, nor were we in contact with the person that tested positive. So because of that, we had to adjourn early on Friday so that they could clean the chambers. And that was really the whole purpose, was for them to clean the chambers. And so they did clean the chambers, but we had to adjourn early, and it meant that there were several legislations that were not voted on. And so we are having a special council scheduled for tomorrow, Tuesday, the 26th. On Wednesday, the 27th, we will have our official budget hearing that will start. I believe that the budget hearing agenda has been posted, and it is posted on the Navajo Nation meetings website. The Law and Order Committee will be holding budget hearings for our oversight on the 27th, the 28th, and then the 29th. And again, for those of you who are listening and committee members, I will not be in attendance for the budget hearing on the 28th, as I do have a meeting on the 105 L lease in Phoenix, Arizona. So I will be in Phoenix on the 28th, flying back on the 29th. In addition to that, committee members, remember that Tuesday, the 2nd is primary election day. And then we do go into August the 8th, which is our regular scheduled Law and Order Committee meeting. No, I'm sorry. We don't have a regular scheduled Law and Order Committee meeting. Yes, we do, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So on the 8th, we do have a regular scheduled Law and Order Committee meeting. Committee members, as a reminder, again, on Wednesday, August 10th, 11th, and 12th, we have the 29th annual Four Corners, I believe it's called Indian Country Conference, that will be held in Phoenix. And this is regarding public safety and justice. This email was sent to us by Delegate Crotty on June 29th. And the off-reservation travel has been approved for the Law and Order Committee members to take part in this Public Safety and Justice Indian Country Conference there in Phoenix. So just as a reminder that will be going on. And then I do want to remind committee members that if it's not already in your calendar, on August 31st, we have the Nabikiatsket budget hearing. And then on August 31st, and then also on September 1st. And then we have Navajo Nation Council budget hearing September 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, which then means that after that, on the 20th, 21, 22, and 23, hopefully, if everything works out and we get our meeting scheduled, the Law and Order Committee will be traveling to Washington, D.C. On behalf of public safety and justice. So those are the announcements that I have at this time. Committee members, are there any questions or comments before I ask for a motion to adjourn? Yes, Delegate.
The report you
You mean the public safety and judicial booklet?
all the schedule that you got the Senate.
Oh, okay. Here you
Thank
go. Oh, I'll go ahead and send that out to you guys. So with that, committee members, since there's no questions or no further comments or no announcements, we'll go ahead and call for the vote at this time. Sherelle, can you assist us with roll call vote, please?
Madam Chair, we don't have a motion and second to adjourn.
Motion,
I
Delegate.
apologize. You are correct. Motion made by Delegate Vince James to adjourn. Can I get a second?
Okay, change it to
Second by Honorable Eugene So. So with that, Sherelle, can you assist us with roll call vote, please?
Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate Jane votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazi is excused. Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 2 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 not voting. Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting. Honorable Otto So not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazi is excused, Madam Chair.
And for the record, Delegate Vice Chair Otto So did inform the committee at the very beginning of the meeting that he would be taking a part in I believe it's a deposition on behalf of the water rights litigation that is currently going on. So he did ask to be excused. So we're going to go ahead and recognize his being excused. So with that, we have 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 3 not voting. And this is to adjourn. So with that, committee members, it's 1:11. We are hereby adjourned from the Law and Order Committee meeting. You guys be safe out there, and Delegate Eugene will be sending out the email here shortly. Thank you.
Did you?